Welcome GC Kids and families, and welcome to our sacred space in our home. And if you notice, we have some things from last time that we have up. So we have our prayer chain that we did. We have our remember banners, remembering what Jesus did in this time of Lent. Remember, Lent is a time of preparation as we journey towards Easter. I also want you to remember, families, you don't have to do everything that I'm suggesting. Just pick a few. And the whole point is to have a discussion and, again, journey together as a family with us as a church toward Easter, the great mystery of Easter and what that means for us. So this week, you will find in your packets that you'll get in the mail directions on how to make flowers. So I'm going to have Charlie and Edith start with this, and we'll walk you through it too. But I have a couple steps. So I have our tissue paper that you'll get with your packet, and you want to fold it up about this size. And then you're going to take a cup and you're going to trace it on the tissue paper, and then you're going to cut it out. So we'll let them get started, and we'll talk a little bit more about, well, why are we making flowers? It takes us to the story that's outlined in your Lenten devotion that you'll get in the mail. And it's found in Luke 12, 13 through 34. So we've been talking about Jesus, and Jesus had very important work to do. I wonder, do you remember what Jesus' work was? What did he do? Remember what we said? He came close, didn't he? He often came close to people that other people were like, oh, we don't want to be close to those people. But Jesus came close. He also was a healer and a teacher, and he did a lot of storytelling called parables. Have you heard of that word before? Parable. Yes, Jesus had some amazing stories, and they always were teaching about God's kingdom. How things work in God's kingdom. So, remember, we've been talking about that treasure chest over there, about how the world sees treasure, but it's different from how God's kingdom and how God sees treasure. And remember, invisible things are real, like love. Love is real. God is love. And it's not something we can see, but we can store up heavenly, eternal treasure. And Jesus teaches how a lot of times through the parables that he taught. So hold on a minute, Charlie has a question. Yes.
How much do I do after?
Okay, he's ready. So pause right there. Okay, after that, Edith has hers too. You're gonna want, maybe you'll need help from your parents, but you have your whole stack of tissue paper. And what I did is I took the scissors, and you wanna make 2 little holes in your tissue paper. So I usually take it and I just kind of fold it in half, just a little bit like that. Make sure your finger's not in there, but just so it's kind of not folded flat. And I'm just gonna slice 2 little holes, like so. So Edith can do that. And then you're gonna work your pipe cleaner through the holes. You're gonna go up one side, and you might have to wiggle it through there, see? And then you come down the other. Just enough to bring it through, like so, and then you're going to twist it at the bottom so it stays, okay? So this is the fun part then, because you can make your flower scrunchy. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take each layer and you're just gonna scrunch it up, okay? So Charlie's gonna work on that. Okay, so what is this parable this week? Well, there's 2 that we're gonna focus on, and the one in the devotion is talking about a man who was very rich. And he had all these crops, and he thought, oh, what should I do with all of these extra crops? And he said, oh, I'll do this. I'll tear down my small barns, and I'm gonna build bigger ones so I can store up all this grain and all this good stuff, and I don't have to work for a long time, right? So he did just that. And, but you know what God said? Oh, you're being foolish. This very night, your life is being demanded of you, and the things you prepared, whose will they be? So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God. So Jesus goes on then to explain this story, and I have my Jesus Storybook Bible here, about how we look around and we look at the birds and the flowers outside, and he says, look at the birds. They don't store up, but they have what they need. And look at the flowers. The flowers are dressed more splendidly than King Solomon in his day. God cares so much for his creation. How much more does he care for you and for me? So I love that story. And so as we make our flowers, it's a way for us to be reminded that God cares for us, just like he cares for this whole big world. And you know what's so amazing about that? God invites us to help care for each other, to help care for the earth. We get to work with God to bring his kingdom and to take care of what we see right in front of us, that we can invest in this invisible, beautiful kingdom of God. And it's expanding and moving, and we can be a part of it. And God is just taking our hand and saying, come with me, I'll show you how. Which brings me to our next parable, or next story, which we're going to be talking about this coming Sunday. And it's a familiar story to a lot of us. It's often called the parable of the Good Samaritan. And so I have a question for you. Who is our neighbor? I have a question. Do you guys know the show Daniel the Tiger? I love that show. Yes, it's a favorite of ours too. So it's talking about, a lot of times in that show, and it's based on Mr. Rogers, right? Won't You Be My Neighbor song? If you're not familiar with that, you can look that up too. It's wonderful. I grew up on Mr. Rogers. So how can we be a good neighbor, and who is our neighbor? I want you to think about that. And maybe that's a way you can have a conversation at home. Who is your neighbor? And oftentimes, it's all about our heart, right? How are we feeling? Are we open to what God has for us? Are we open to living in God's kingdom today? Let's think about that. Well, check it out. Looks like we have more flowers, don't we? Awesome. You can put them in the vase. So this week, in your sacred space as a family, or you can put it on your table so you're reminded of Jesus' parable, his teaching about how to live in God's kingdom. That he'll take care of you, just like the flowers and the birds, and we get to help him take care of others by loving others incredibly well. So some other things, some other suggestions you can do as a family this week is maybe share your flowers with the neighbor next door. Or maybe, showing love by maybe making a point to get together with grandparents or aunts and uncles or friends that live far away and do a Zoom call with them. Or maybe it's taking the neighbor's garbage out to the curb or bringing the garbage cans back in. So this week, make a point to love incredibly well by serving others in a way that's right in front of you. It doesn't have to be big, and that's what's so beautiful about God's kingdom, is we all are invited to participate. All right, I think we got it. Look at our flowers. Looks so nice. Awesome. So GC Kids and Families, I look forward to seeing you this Sunday, and I love that we get to journey together toward Easter, an amazing, wonderful mystery that we get to be a part of. Remember, God's story is our story too. Have a great week, and we'll see you Sunday on Zoom. See ya!